Yep, that's a straight up record. And I can cut it wherever to start.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, wait, we didn't come up with any topics. Wait, are we recording tomorrow? That was the question. Is it too ambitious to record? We can just start whenever.
I don't think anything is too ambitious, and also like low key, and maybe I'm crazy.
Yeah.
We could do an after hours tonight recording as well with a different topic.
We can.
You know what I mean?
That is extra work. For no specific reason besides we wanna.
Well, no, the specific reason is this is literally what we do for our committee, and this is what we're involved in.
No, I know, but it would be after hours when it doesn't need to be, is what I was saying.
Oh, and I forgot you're very unlike.
I am 100% once it's my time, it's my time.
Yeah,
person.
and I'm very much like,
like,
I would love to do this podcast on weekends, but I know you're not.
Oh, 100%, and that's just yeah. It's not that I value my time that well. It's that I know if I don't, then I'll be miserable.
And honestly, I'm not. Maybe I'm crazy,
yeah.
But so one of the things I wanted to talk about in this podcast. Hello, everyone. Today is a special. We are at the UMR summer meetings recording our podcast. First time visually. I think this is awesome. My name is Dallas Lansanese. I use he and his pronouns, and with me I have
Nathan Dozier, and I use he and his pronouns.
And we were talking, as you saw, a little bit before the podcast, trying to figure some stuff out. But I think this little like difference of like opinion, with like how like involved a little bit with like this committee work that we wanted, what we're doing currently, is actually a really good lead into one of the things I wanted to talk about today.
Sure
and then
is.
we can cycle back. We can go back to some other things.
Actually,
but like
I
think it's actually like interesting because I, as I was saying, I'm very okay with, or would be very okay with, doing this podcast recording on weekends after hours on my own time, just because of like how. And I'm not saying you're not, but because of like how much
I'm not.
I'm just because I'm very. I don't know. I this has been one of the things that lately that has been giving me a lot of like just motivation to continue doing what I'm doing. And I really find a lot of enjoyment in this podcast and like the committee work that we're doing and the subcommittee work that we're doing. And that's why I'm very big on like, I would like whenever we're trying to schedule times to record or times to plan. It's always like, oh, when's the work for you in the work week? And it's completely fine, and I agree with that, and that's cool, and I love that you do that. Like, that's awesome. I'm always in the boat, like, I'm down to do it, like, Saturday morning. Like, I'll wake up and hang out, get a cup of Joe, you know? But, so something I wanted to bring up, I guess unless you have thoughts before.
Yeah. So my thoughts on that too is it's not that I'm not okay with doing things after hours. That is never the case. If my boss is watching, I love doing stuff after hours. If you need me to do anything after hours, just let me know. I'm your guy. I'll be there. But because we do so much stuff after hours by default already, to do it optionally, like when there's another option to not do it, it's really difficult to then give your time, because at that point, when is your time, and when do you really cut off when that is? For me, it's just like, honestly, 5 o'clock, that's it. That is the last minute I'll work, unless I absolutely have to. If there's something that I messed up on, something that I'm not caught up on, or if there's something that just came up that we need to take care of, absolutely, I'll do it every single time. But like even during the school year, I think I've talked about this in the podcast before too. Whenever me and my wife are talking about work, 5 o'clock is my cutoff.
Yeah.
Yep. And if it's past 5 o'clock, I just say, that sounds like a lot of work talk right now.
It's like, hey, why are we talking about this?
And it's like, oh, that's crazy. We could be talking about where we're getting dinner.
Yeah.
Because that sounds way cooler. Yep. Yeah. And I love not working when I don't have to.
Yeah. No, I feel that, especially because like just like you said, like how many other outside things that we have outside of work hours because of the work that we do. So I hear that, but I really wanted to bring up just like the working culture in general. It was one of the things I really wanted to talk about today, because I feel like, and like, two camps at this point, with especially in like higher ed in this profession, of like what the culture around like how much quote unquote commitment to your job you should have.
Yes.
I feel like depending on the generation which you were raised in or born in or whatever, there's a lot of like, you're in this job, you are this job, the job is you, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like you are alive to be in this job, you're living to work. Like this, you are in this position, you're in a profession. Like you are working, you are work is you. And then there's another camp, another boat, where it's almost the complete opposite. Where it's like, yeah, I work, and maybe I find enjoyment in my job, and if I don't, whatever. I'm working to be able to do the things that I really want to do. Like, I do my 40 hours, I get my paycheck, and then I have my outside of my life stuff that I really enjoy, that I'm more interested in, but it doesn't mean I will take away from the job that I have. I just won't do X, Y, and Z, because why do I have to do that for a job that is not providing me the happiness and enjoyment that life is supposed to provide us as humans?
Yeah, and you're allowed to have a job that gives you happiness.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And there are people who love their job so much that they'll give any amount of time to it. It is not that I don't love my job. That's not the problem. I do love my job. It is that I know that for me, if I don't mitigate it ahead of time before I'm burnt out, then me having to have the conversation when I'm burnt out, honestly, is a point of my life where, like, I feel like I'm too established as a professional to do that. Like, I feel like if I just let myself get burnt out and then have that conversation, I've had enough times where, like, I've already had that happen and had to have that conversation that I am responsible for it, and I need to mitigate it also. It is not just on my supervisor. This is not advice to you all. This is me. I promise it's me. But it is not my supervisor's responsibility to mitigate how I feel. It's mine. I don't want to keep putting my supervisor in the situation where I say, yes, I'm so burnt out, I need you to take everything off my plate, and then I can refill it back up, and I can overload it again. Because I do that, and I've done that for so many jobs. And now that I'm in the position I am right now, I feel like now is when I'm supposed to be helping others with that, which means I kind of just need to take my own advice, because if I don't take my own advice, then what's the point? Like, I know that a lot of people do the practice what you preach, but if I'm not doing it, then don't take my advice.
Do you believe that in a higher ed, anyone, whether you're entry level or senior level, can achieve, like, work-life balance?
100%. You have to be not aggressive, but assertive. I think you have to be very assertive with how you need your time utilized. If you are someone who is okay with doing extra stuff, with doing more stuff, with signing up for stuff, awesome. If that doesn't affect you at all, perfect. But if you're someone who knows that you get overwhelmed, overstressed, don't take on extra stuff until you know how much your normal stuff affects you.
Yeah, I feel like something that, like, a trap, I don't want to use the word trap, I'm going to use the word trap. I feel like a trap that, like, newer professionals fall into is this idea that they can't say no.
100%.
And I feel like that's very unfortunate, because if anything, I would much rather, because I'm going into my 4th year as a hall director at the same institution. Prior to that, I had 2 years as a graduate hall director.
Yep.
And so I'm going into my 6th year as basically having a hall director role in some capacity.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that I am established, I know what I need to do, and I can say yes to things, and I'm okay with saying yes to things. I'm still working on the whole now. It's been a roller coaster for me, and I'll circle back to my other topic.
Sure.
It's a roller coaster for me because I was in the boat initially when I was a first entry professional, like first year, I should say, where I thought, like, if I said no, and I was told this by someone, don't remember who.
Yeah.
Someone told me
that's
this.
convenient.
Someone
just didn't. Someone told me. I'm not gonna name names because I don't know the name. If I knew the name, I'd let you know, but I don't.
I honestly can't remember where I remember hearing this, but I was told at one point that basically if you say no too early, you'll never be asked again for opportunity, and you're cutting yourself short fast. I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that. But there might, again, that could be a generational gap. But I know you got a thought.
I know. You finish out your thing.
I got to get this out, or I'm not going to get it out. And so it's been a roller coaster for me of, like, I initially said yes to a lot of things. I realized, like you said, like, now I have to say no, and I'm burnt out. But now I've come back to a point where I feel very established in what I do, that I feel very comfortable saying yes to a lot of things, because I know I can do it. I know how to allocate my time. I know how and I've gotten really good at, for the most part, even if I still have Outlook send me email notifications on the weekend or when I'm off, because there sometimes, and I know, like, this goes against a few, like, some people's thoughts, even if I'm away, sometimes there is an emergency that I need to, if I don't, I'm afraid that something might not happen like it should. seldom that I feel that way, but there is sometimes I see an email and I'm like, shoot, I really need to do something right now, regardless of where I'm at. And then I make accommodations for myself. But my initial thought that I had prior to me explaining my little journey when it comes to saying yes and saying no is so a lot of first-time professionals feel like they have to say yes, 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 or they're going to be cut off from that opportunity that I talked about. I'd much rather, now that I'm going into my 4th year and I am I'm the most senior hall director at my institution.
Yeah.
And so like I'm in a role where I'd much rather see someone who's new say no because they need to learn their job first before putting on extra stuff to their job that will benefit them in their professional growth and development, but won't benefit them if they just get, as you said, burnt out so fast that now it's like, I don't want them to get pushed out of like the profession because they feel so burnt out because they felt like they had to say yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And I think my portion of it comes from the fact that I've moved pretty quickly. I mean, you know it. We've talked about it outside of this context, because I was a grad for only. So, as a grad, what we do is we supervise CAs, which are RAs, same thing, and then there are sometimes some of us supervise DAs. So desk assistants, if people don't have those for some reason. I feel like every institution does, but just in case, whatever. So the problem that I ran into is I supervised only DAs, but I only did that for like 2 or 3 months, and then we had a hall director leave, and then I filled in that hall director role. Really, we moved someone, then I filled in that other role, and then we did some flipping, but then I was a hall director before I even like knew how to be a grad. So then I did that I was basically a grad hall director, which is not what we typically do. So it was just a flip of roles. And then from there, I just went to being a hall director while I was in grad school because every single time an opportunity comes. And this is how it is for me all the time. Like, if opportunity comes, I will always say yes, as long as it's opportunity that I'm interested in, even if I'm not ready for it. Because I was a hall director after being a graduate hall director, I was a hall director for only 1.5 years. And then the next opportunity came, and it's like, hey, do you want to be assistant director? And it wasn't like hey, we want you for assistant director. Well, it was that also, but it was more of a,
okay,
like,
now.
they did a whole search. They failed the search. Then they were kind of like feeling out who would be interested in it, and someone who I respect immensely came to me and said, like, hey, are you interested in this role? I was like, yeah, definitely. I'll think about it, whatever. Within like 5 or 10 minutes when I went to go do something else, he went and tracked me down. He's like, sorry, I wasn't very clear. I really want you to apply for this because I think you are ready for this step. And I'm like, you might think I'm ready for the step, and I appreciate that because that means I'm doing my job well enough that you trust me. And I appreciate that, and I like knowing that. At the time, I wasn't ready for it, though. And I am now because I've been doing it for 1.5 years. If I wasn't by now, then I don't think anything's going to make me ready. But just that flip is so strange to me because other people were asked about it too. I don't think anyone was pushed that hard for it, and which is 100% an appreciation. I am more than thankful for that. I'm very happy I got that opportunity. But now I am, at least on the organizational chart, I'm higher up than people who've been working in the same department as me they've been working there for like 3 years and more than me, and it doesn't feel like I'm more qualified by any means than them to be where I am, but I'm here. And as I get further into this job, and after in this role specifically, that's when I'm like, okay, I can probably take on more stuff that I don't have to take on. But also the other part of it, and the reason why I typically don't like recording after hours, is mostly because I have so much free time. Like, it's not that I don't do anything. I have plenty that I can do. But most of my stuff's pretty flexible, and I can do it later or I can do it earlier. So my day is just a little more flowy, so I can just push stuff out of the way to get it done. And if there is a way to do it during business hours, and if it's business related, then I 100% every single time recommend that for people. But on the same token, it would feel a lot less worky if we did it outside of business hours too. And that's a whole part of it too, because this is a voluntary committee. We're already volunteering our time one way or another. So I do understand the portion of just wanting to do it outside of business hours so it's not so business oriented also. But yeah, so that was my portion of it.
I have, now it seems like I'm just interviewing you.
Yeah, it does feel that way now.
I have a question from one of the things you said.
Yes.
Do you think if you said no to the opportunity that came up, that like I don't know how to word it, but like basically it wouldn't like it wouldn't like be on the table for you again if you said no at that time. So if you were still a hall director currently.
I think it would be, but I'm not sure how quickly it would be. Mm-hmm. The problem with some opportunities, and this is my advice for any new professionals, is the problem with opportunity is that opportunity comes at the time that it comes, and you don't get to control that, and you don't get to tell people when that opportunity comes to you. Mm-hmm. It will show up, and you just got to do with it what you will. And this is not just with higher education. It's not just with jobs. It's with life. There's just going to be some things that just pop into your life sometimes, and you just got to choose then and there. Am I going to take it or no? And those are the only two options. Like, you can run any pros and cons list you want. I mean, this is the same thing with, like, I mean, people do that with dating too. Like,
I was about to say, I've been told that's how love works. I don't know 100%. Really. But
no, you run pros and cons. Like, you run pros and cons for everything. Yeah. But at the end of the day, no matter how many pros and cons you have, it's a yes or a no. Like, and you know in your gut from the get-go probably whether or not you want something. Yeah. And when I first got to college, I knew I wanted to be an RA. When I was an RA, I knew I wanted to be a hall director. When I was a hall director, that happened a little quick, so I didn't have enough time to think about if I wanted to be assistant director, but it sounded cool, and then it happened, and it was an opportunity. I was able to go through with that, and now, like, I don't know, like, if my, that being said, though, if my boss, like, today said, like, yeah, I'm thinking about moving up, like, you want to be director? No, I don't. That I do know, actually, for a fact right now, that I want to learn my job.
I think it'd be so crazy, just, like, because that's so not traditional. Just think of like a traditional like stepping up the ladder. If you were next week in like talks of being like the next director of your department.
Yeah, if that was the case, then it would be 100% proven to me that I am not able to keep a job for more than a year and a half. That is the only thing that would be proven. And honestly,
in a good way.
In a good way, but also like, can you keep a job, man? Like, support a family, dude.
That's so I feel like I alluded to this, but like we are at UMR summer meetings right now. I think that's awesome. We are currently in Heights Hall.
Heights, that's what it's called.
HEITZ at Missouri State University, having some subcommittee time right now.
Oh, by the way, you're looking at this lovely courtyard. This is the 5th floor, by the way.
Floor
Isn't
courtyard.
That crazy? That's so cool. Below us is a parking garage.
I brought up a comment. I feel like if you're trying to maximize your space on a college campus, if you have the opportunity at some point in your life to get land and make a college campus.
Yeah, if you just have like $45 million sitting around, you should make.
I think it makes them, because like parking is the when polling students is consistently year after year after year the number one issue across the country at all college campuses of like what students feel is the most inadequate or inequitable thing on campus.
Yes, 100%.
That being said, the fact that this building has a parking garage for, I would assume it's residents, connected to, and then I'm pretty sure it's the first like 1, 2, 3, and 4 floors. There might be like rooms on that floor a little bit. I'm not sure. I haven't looked around. But the fact that like that's the parking garage, and then the 3rd or the 5th, 6th, and 7th are like residence rooms.
Yeah.
That just makes like then you have so much more space rather than having parking lots on campus. You can have a few for like faculty and the staff because they need that for some capacity, and then you could have so much more space, or you could do so much with little space. Yeah. Smaller campuses, smaller colleges could have just more buildings and more things to be able to like have access to.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of campuses, like, obviously that's just a big project. Obviously that's why we're not doing it. That's why we don't do things like that. But for the campuses who are looking to make those projects and changes, I 100% think it's amazing. This has been super cool. It's been a super awesome facility to look at, and we've been in different rooms. All of it's very, very cool.
I will say I also think – so I love going to college campuses. I don't know if you do. And
I do.
And like,
I love doing it.
Being a higher ed professional, I think, makes this what my interests exponentially grow. But I love being on college campuses. I love seeing just how things are built, like big, small, whatever. I've really enjoyed just walking around Missouri State's campus, and I think it's like really pretty. I think the buildings have. I'm very big into like not same architecture for buildings.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like I don't like when campuses are like it makes a consistency thing.
Oh, have you seen Fort Hayes?
I have not.
All of the buildings are made out of this old limestone, but can I give you? Can I at least?
Yeah, you can.
There's some. Okay, I'm not. It's cool, and the reason it's cool is because it is a specific limestone that you can see fossils in it. Like if you just look at random bricks, you can find fossils just sitting there. I've seen like shell fossils. I think I saw a bug fossil in one too. That's probably not true. There's some paleontologist that's like, actually, Fort Hayes limestone can't have bug fossils. But I'm sure I saw something besides a nautiloid. I think that's not what they're called. Nautiloids are from D&D. What are they called? Nautilus? What's the shell?
I don't know.
I don't know
I'm not
enough
sure.
about paleontology. I can call my friend who knows about paleontology, but I won't.
But no, I just really like college campuses.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, like being able to like take some time away for some of these meetings, and walk around this campus at Missouri State. And so I thank them, and any of you viewers who are from Missouri State. I appreciate you allowing us to have our meetings for UMR summer meetings on this college campus. I really do appreciate that.
100% appreciated. Thank you for sponsoring not only our wonderful, wonderful summer meetings, but also the UMR In Summary podcasts, because without you we wouldn't be doing this in person. And also, who's the other
are you talking about the actual sponsor? Like,
our actual sponsor? College Products.
Yeah.
Is that 100%? Are you sure? Are you sure it's called College Products?
I think it's called College Products.
I'm pretty sure it's College Products.
I would be really upset if it's not.
Hey, you know what? They're not going to watch it. So that's just honest. Okay, thank you, College Products, for sponsoring this. Yeah. They had a nice little segment. They were talking about how they've sponsored their UMR summer meetings for, 6 years?
6 years now. This is the 6th.
Yes, this is the 6th. That is super cool. They've sponsored the UMR.
The region itself,
the actual
for 20 plus years,
yeah,
I think it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So no, they've been a super, super big part of why this can still happen. Not only the podcast still happening. We would not be able to fund this podcast without them.
Yeah.
Technically true.
That's real.
That is actually real.
That's real.
Because this is what happened. Yeah.
I really do. I just appreciate all of our sponsors and what they've given the opportunity for us to do. But being at UMR summer meetings, I mean, I would assume that if you're listening and watching to this podcast, like podcast right now, you know what we're talking about. Yeah. But do you want to maybe like what is UMR?
How many
UMR summer meetings?
How many UMRs have you gone to?
Me?
Yeah.
This conference coming up will be my third.
Cool. I've gone to one. This upcoming one will be a second.
Me then?
Yeah. I mean, kinda.
Okay.
What's UMR?
So, do you want the like logistical answer or like what I like?
You.
Me?
Yeah, I want Dallas what UMR is, not what the committee says UMR is.
Okay, so we're gonna get a little deep then.
Sure.
So, for the majority of my life, I found it very hard to build genuine connections with people. Mm-hmm. And when I build connections with people, I've learned as time passes that these connections, these relationships may not be the ones that I should be. I shouldn't be I'm involving myself around these people that probably aren't going to help me with my growth.
Yeah.
And like they're just like they're keeping me, they're stagnating me or they're pulling me down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so like I didn't really understand or figure this out until I got to college, that a lot of my childhood friends, maybe, I still appreciate them, and the times that we had, maybe they weren't the best for where I was trying to go.
Yeah.
Then as like college kind of goes on and I'm going into grad school, like I made a lot of connections in college, but once I graduated college, I think I still talked to like 4 people from there. But I was like, I don't want to say I was popular in my undergrad, because like popularity is relative.
Yeah, sure.
But
sure.
I was so involved that no matter where I went, no matter where I was, at least somebody recognized me.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a massive undergrad, but that's still crazy. That like I would go around campus and like I would never be in a space that people didn't know me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I make all these connections, and they just they weren't, I guess, genuine. They weren't genuine because like we move away from people, and with how advanced technology is now, I don't think distance should be as big of a factor of like being able to continue connections now in relationships, because of how connected we can be over technology and like social media and whatever, and like texting and all that. So So I only talked to like 4 people, and so like that just felt very like that hurt me a lot as a person. I was like, wow, I thought like I was more connected than I was with people.
Yeah.
And I'm very extroverted. I get my energy and my enjoyment and just like the happiness that I get from life is from being able to interact with people that I appreciate. And so I went to grad school and I had some connections with those individuals, and that was fun for the time being. But once I graduated grad school, I don't talk to them anymore. One of them actually did reach out to me recently in my grad cohort and was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, yeah, I'm doing like this is happening. I'm doing well. How about you? Never responded to me. And so like, thanks for reaching out. You then didn't continue that.
Yeah,
so, like,
it devalues the actual outreach in the beginning.
Exactly. And like, it would have been nice if you just responded, and then we could have just kept it there and it would have been fine.
Yeah, like just a back and forth and nothing more. Like just a, how are you doing?
Yep.
How are you doing?
And
good,
so,
perfect.
And then moving into my professional position, and I will say, I've appreciated my time at the institution that I'm at. I've appreciated the connections I've been able to make, whether it's with my students or my staff. Like I've really appreciated that. I did not want to be where I'm at currently initially. I have enjoyed it enough to stay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going into my 4th year and being the most senior hall director.
Of course.
If I didn't enjoy it. It's not where I wanted to be because I am now in a state so far removed just physically from people that I connected with in the past. And so it's been just really hard. I've had a really hard experience my entire life, just like continuing connection past a certain amount of time. And so I wanted to try to, I know people in this region and people who associate themselves with UMR and committees and all that, they are genuinely trying to make some sort of difference in the work that we do. Small, large, doesn't matter. You got to take the first step regardless.
Yeah.
And so I want to be around good people that I can make genuine connections with, and I can reach out at any point, and regardless of how long the conversation is, we'll have a conversation. And so that's what UMR is to me, is being able to actually feel like I'm a part of something that's not just myself.
Yeah.
So that's UMR to me. Kind of deep.
Yeah, you want to talk about what you like? Yeah, that's fair. No, but I mean, I understand what you mean. I probably won't go into my experience quite as deeply, mostly because I haven't had a whole lot of UMR yet. And honestly, like, I don't know if I talked to you about this earlier, or maybe I talked to someone else about this. I'm really bad at networking. Maybe we did talk about this when we were on our walk.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But I'm really bad at networking, and the reason is because I have such a work-life balance that the moment that I am not, like, before, after work, like when we're in our, like, we're getting breakfast and we're getting lunch and we're getting dinner and all this other stuff, I don't want to talk about work ever. And that is for me, it feels like a barrier of entry for other people to connect with me, and I've been pretty bad about that, and I haven't fixed it yet. Like, it is just one of those, like, I kind of just want to talk about, like, and I know that there's a lot of people here who really like having those genuine connections and also don't want to talk about personal life, because personal life is a whole different level of what our connection is and what our relationship is when it comes to things like this. So my always ever going struggle is I want to talk about personal life, people want to talk about work life, and it's just always that conflict. So for me, I'm kind of a newbie for UMR. I'm kind of learning. I'm kind of like just settling in, and I'm kind of just observing more than anything, so I can kind of get a feel of where everyone else is at.
Not to put you on the spot, and you can say I haven't given this thought, but
sure.
Do you want to do committee work next year?
I haven't put that much thought into it. I do want to. I haven't figured it out yet. If we do, then I'd like to continue the podcast personally, because that's really what would, like, keep me in committees. If we were going to stay in the engagement committee and continue our podcast, perfect.
Okay, not to put a damper in your one and your desire. I'm probably not gonna do committee next year.
Okay,
but I'm still down to be a part of this in some capacity.
Yeah.
If it is just like me still helping and assisting and maybe being still a co-host, completely cool with me. And I'll just, like, again, earlier we were talking about saying no, saying yes, putting stuff on your plate, taking stuff off your plate. I'm at a point where, so this is my 2nd year on a UMR committee. It'll be my 3rd UMR I'm going to. I'll probably still go to the conference next year. Yeah. I'll probably still spend my Pro Devo to go. But I just currently, I think don't need to. I've gotten the experience currently what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Now, if I would, maybe I'll think of like another committee rather than because this is the second year on the engagement committee for me.
Yeah.
Last year, full transparency, like I had nowhere near the experience that I wanted.
Yeah.
I really liked the people. I didn't. It wasn't the people for it wasn't. I wanted to like be a part of I wanted to make the organization better. I wanted to connect and make the organization better through my work that I was doing, and I was like not doing any work on the committee, and it just felt like I was just sitting around doing nothing I was just sitting on my hands.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm gonna do this again and like almost redeem myself, the comeback story. And so now I'm actually actively doing stuff in our committee, and I like that. And so at least this year has fulfilled me. And I also don't know when it comes to my professional plans, like I don't want to like do a committee next year and like what if I move jobs?
Yeah, and then you have to balance it all now.
I have to either like back out because I'm not even in the region anymore, or I have to figure it out, and it's going to be hard.
Yeah. And
so at least currently I'm in the no boat. But I said the same thing last year at summer meetings, and then the conference happened, and I got the conference bug. It bit me again, and I was like, I will do it. I will do it. I recommend anyone who's listening, anyone who's watching that is on the fence. If your institution can adequately fund your experience on a committee, because you would have, if you were to travel to each of our meetings, you would have 3 different times in the year that you would travel for UMR, winter, summer, and the actual conference in the fall. If your university and your department can actually fund it, I recommend it at least once.
I actually do too. I've only been to one, and this is my first time being on a committee. I've had a great time with the committee. This is actually like, you can make connections at UMR. For the people who are a little more introverted or kind of stick to their crew or things like that, that's how I am 100%. And I'm not introverted, for the record. When it comes to committees, it's not that I'm introverted. I know how much space I take when I decide to be extroverted, and I just dial it back because I know there's just a stage for other people. That's what I want for people. I want them to have that. I 100% recommend, if you are someone who doesn't feel like you have enough time or have these skills to make those connections in UMR, the actual conference, 100% join a committee. That's where you can also make a lot of those connections too. And I've met some amazing people in the engagement committee. I think all of the people in the engagement committee are fantastic, and I love talking to all of them. But yeah, that's my just 2 cents of just get involved. It's scary. It's new. It's stuff that you don't know. They're never going to give you anything you can't do, though. That's just how it is.
That's real. And if you are not on the fence about committee and you are on the fence about just going to the conference, you should do that.
Yeah, just go.
The conference this year starts on Halloween. That's pretty spooky if you ask me. And so it's from the 31st of October to the 2nd of November, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but I know it at least starts on Halloween.
You know better than me.
And so if you are in the region, or even not in the region, we've had people come who aren't in the region. They still come because they might be considering joining the region in the future. But if you are just thinking about it, I know registration will be coming out within these next few months because October will be here before you know it.
It always will be.
And the beginning of the semester is here before you know it. No, I don't want to get into that.
It's
don't even think
June.
about that.
It's June.
Don't think
what
about
day
it.
is it? It's June 5th?
Don't talk about it.
So it's June 5th now. Hold on. Let me just figure it out. It's June 5th. So if I blink right now, it'll probably be July 14th.
Yeah, and then the summer's over, and then we're close to UMR.
Yeah.
And so, the conference is on the 31st. I recommend it. It's so fun. You can, if you're not looking for a connection, you can still get a lot of great information you can bring back to your campus and back to your position and, like, continue developing and growing. First-time professional, or you've been in the field for 35 years.
We actually still utilize a lot of trainings that happened years past because our community directors took that training, they revamped it. They always leave the little like note of who actually made the training because give credit when credit's due. Don't plagiarize. But we utilize those still in our trainings. There was I think the specific one I can think of right now is called How to Be Basic, and it's building a safe, inclusive community. It's a simple thing. It's a nice little like
That spells basic.
That does.
That's so cool.
Isn't it so cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super fun, and it's our highest rated training that we do for our RAs every year, every single year, and it's never changed. And it doesn't matter who gives the training because everyone loves that presentation. So you can literally, after any of the presentations at UMR, steal something. Just go up and say, hey, can I steal that? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And then there's also a place that they put all of the presentations online, and you can steal all of the presentations. Just give credit.
And if you feel like you don't want to steal, yes, but you can always connect with the presenter. They always have their contact information at the end of the presentation, and you can always connect and just get if anything, if they feel comfortable offering the service, working with them and reaching out to them and developing something off of the stuff that they presented at the conference. So very, very valuable use of your time. But speaking of time, because I love segues and I'm really good at it.
Yeah, you sure are. Especially when you draw more attention to the segue, it makes a segue so good.
Did you know
it's so smooth?
The fact that segues are also a mobile transport thing is wild. Where do they go?
They're not here anymore.
But why?
Because they're not useful. They're not. What do you mean how? How are they not useful?
How are scooters useful? Motorized scooters are just segways.
I know they are. Okay, so you want to know why segways are stupid and scooters are cool as hell?
Sure.
So what dropped? Oh, that was my AirPods.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, that's fine. So segways are stupid because they're overly engineered, they're overly expensive, and they're bulky. Scooters have this nice, thin, sleek design, and it's very easy to add more support to a scooter than it is to a Segway because it has a foot platform that you have to stand on. And then you lean, while scooters, they just go. You don't even have to put any effort into it. And there's a little, switch. It's more like a motorcycle than it is pretend futuristic gear.
Yeah, and so speaking of time, no, I do. No, I agree. I just love devil's advocate.
I know.
But one of the things I wanted to bring up today is just the idea of time away and how to make time away actually feel time it's away.
Oh, that's how we got here at the beginning. Actually,
we
started with this topic and then we kind of went on a whole different,
a little bit,
little journey.
Depending on when we fade into this recording.
Oh, I'm just gonna from the get-go. It's just raw.
But yeah, so time away is very important. If you have built up time away and haven't used it, I recommend doing that. But I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
And then you can also ask me the same question if you really want to,
sure,
or a different question.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like I've just been asking you questions all this time.
No, I can ask you questions too.
Is how do you actually, how do you, being Nathan?
Yes, Nathan.
Then you can also do you as well, just in general.
Yeah, the royal you.
Yes. Make sure that your time away actually feels like time away from the job.
Oh, easy. Nathan Dozier's got this on lock. So I request a day off. Everyone does that. Easy part. You go to your boss, you say, hey, I want this day off. They tell you whether or not that's going to conflict with something. They're like, yeah, sure, put in your time. I'm not sure if you guys use a system to do that, but we do. Do you guys use Workday?
If that's what it's called, I don't know that it's called that, but I don't think it is.
Okay, if you had Workday, you'd know.
Okay, then I don't know.
I have nothing else to say about Workday. That was not positive or negative. That was very neutral. So anyway, so I'll put in the time. I have the day off. We mark it on a calendar so everyone can look at the calendar and say, oh shoot, Nathan's off this day, whatever. And then what I do is all of my Outlook calendar, I have everyone set to rules, so everyone goes to their own email if they are someone who I email regularly. So the other assistant director at Fort Hays and my director, all the people I supervise, actually anyone in our department except for obviously RAs. I don't do that with because I don't get those emails often, but yeah, any normal email. So then the people who email me knowing that I'm gone already, I will not get notifications from because rules don't give you notifications, and I think you have to do a whole different setting to do that. I'm not going to do that. That takes actual work. That's just real effort. So instead what I do is everyone who I know will email me regularly and know that I'm gone, who have my phone number and can contact me if there's an emergency, they all don't get notifications. That is no offense to you all, by the way. That's how it was set. I didn't know how to fix it, and I was like, actually, this is kind of nice. And then everyone else who doesn't email me regularly, they all actually still notify my phone, and then I can go case by case on whether or not it's important to me. Most of the time it's spam, and that's perfect because it's like, I can actually find one right now because HelloFresh emails my work email. I've never used my email with HelloFresh. I've never done HelloFresh. There's no reason they have my email. They do. Whatever. So HelloFresh emails me probably once a week. And it's like, oh, perfect. It's HelloFresh. I move on. But also, I'm just really good at not paying attention to my phone because I'm not very connected to social media. So I don't really look at Facebook. The only social media I use, do you count YouTube as social media?
I don't, but that's so ironic what you're saying right now. And like, what
dude,
subcommittee are you on?
You know what's funny? Okay, so shoot, I don't want to get off track, but I will. So yes, I'm part of the social media committee. That's we're part of the subcommittee of social media and the overall engagement committee. I signed up for committees late, and it was like probably a month after everyone had been assigned committees. And that's actually why there's a slew of problems sometimes with having me on emailing lists and things like that. But I said, please put me on any committee that needs me. That's all I said. I did not specify anything. They didn't ask me any other questions. They said, you're on the engagement committee. I didn't know it was going to include social media, so I was like, oh, heck yeah, membership engagement. Cool, whatever. I didn't know anything that had to do with it. Yeah. And then I just got plopped into kind of I chose between social media and article.
We had that choice too. You still chose social media?
Well, it was because you and I talked about the podcast before we chose which half we were. And we decided the podcast made more sense to be on the social media side than it did on the Perspective Magazine's plug TM. I
actually wrote 2 articles for Perspective.
Hey, yo, you're a published guy.
Yeah, hey, what's up?
But yeah, so between the two, like I wanted to do the podcast. That fell more into social media, so that's where I wanted to put it. Which then once again begs the question, is YouTube social media? Because we've posted the podcast on YouTube and we're part of the social media committee, subcommittee. So
I don't know if I count YouTube as social media.
I think it's more streaming.
Yeah, but like there's aspects of it that like, especially because like they've added like content creators can like post things on their page like for people to discuss.
Yeah.
Like topics, and that's kind of
more social media. And so's the comment section.
I was about to say the comment section could technically be.
But like if you just watch videos on YouTube, like that's not really social media. That's a streaming service.
You're just trying to watch something. But
and for the record, don't pay for YouTube Premium unless you're someone who uses YouTube daily. That is Google. Don't sue me. But I did want to ask you, how do you make it so you don't feel like you're on the clock when you took a day off?
Yeah, I will say one thing before I answer your question.
Sure.
So YouTube doesn't like if you have ad blockers. They'll actually stop playing your videos if you have an ad blocker because they want their ads to play. Unless you have malware bites. Malware bites will force its way through that, and your videos will still play regardless. And so if you don't want to have ads and allegedly and need and need some sort of firewall protection kind of thing, I recommend Malware Bytes. And you could watch YouTube for no ads.
I pay for YouTube Premium because I pay for YouTube Premium because I watch YouTube every single day for at least 2 or 3 hours. That's the only reason, and I've probably gotten my money at least 5 or 6 times over from it.
Heck yeah. With me though, so I'm in this like weird. I'm like weird boat. So
yeah.
I don't think I do it well, where my time away is actually time away. Depending on who you ask.
Sure. What about you though? Like, what from your perspective do you think you do it well? Do you do it well enough for you, I guess, is the better question.
And I think I do. I think I get my rest back when I take time off, but I also don't take a lot of time off.
Yeah.
It's new to me that this summer I'm taking all Fridays off. I always take a week-long vacation this summer, and that's typically when I take my vacation is the summer.
Yeah.
And then my other off days are when I'm sick. Or maybe like a 3-day weekend. I want to make a 4-day weekend.
Sure.
But never like a lot of times. So I don't take a lot of time off. But the reason I don't, and we talked about this because there are people who are in this boat, and I'm people that are floating in this boat.
Yeah.
I just like outside of my job, I currently don't have that much things that bring me true fulfillment or enjoyment in life.
Yeah.
I really do like what I do, and it makes me want to continue just existing. And so like that doesn't mean I want to die.
Jeez, I was just gonna leave it, man.
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm just saying that like it gives me motivation. My job gives me motivation to actually just do.
Yeah.
And that's what I want is to just do.
There was a plane that went overhead, by the way, if you could hear that.
You heard that. But so like, so it's different in my eyes. I think I do make it a valuable thing, but like again, like I think it depends on who you ask on from an outside perspective. So especially during the summer, whenever I'm off, I still tell my student staff, call me if you have questions. Call me if you have issues.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to get stressed, get overwhelmed, do something wrong.
Yeah.
So I still give them that opportunity. They are good with not abusing that right.
Sure, yeah.
But they will, I will still communicate. I'll still text. I'll still call them. They'll still call me because that's what I've built.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I don't give that acceptance to, or that level of entry into my personal time to anyone above me or even on the same level as me.
Fair.
I don't, because they don't need me that much. There are other people that can do what I do, but in the eyes of my students, there's really not. And even with the hall director on call system, sometimes with what I specifically do in the summer, there's just, it's me. It's me. It's not anyone else. And so, like, my students might say that I don't do well with my time off.
Well, yeah.
But I have heard, at least in the academic year, so these past 2 academic years, I had an RA that was on my staff both years. He made a comment nearing the end of the second year saying, he said, you did really well this year with making sure you had time off for yourself.
Yeah.
Which I laughed at because I felt like I did less time off actually this past year. But at least in his eyes, he said that I was doing really well with my own personal time.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that there as your answer. But I'll give the general royal you. From my perspective of like, how can someone make their time away actually feel like time away?
Sure. And I have one for that too.
So some advice that I was given that I've never used is you shouldn't have Outlook on your phone.
I've heard that.
Regardless, it's not even like during, like, you shouldn't have that on your phone, even during when you're on, because you shouldn't. You just shouldn't.
Yeah, because at that point, like, why would you ever need Outlook on your phone if while you're at work you have your computer?
If you need to respond to emails, you'll do it when you're in the office.
Yeah.
When you're not in the office, you're doing other things that are more important. And having Outlook on your phone is just going to make it where you're in a meeting and you're getting pulled away from that meeting because you're looking at your phone or because you're checking emails.
Yeah.
So, like, don't have Outlook on your phone because it can ruin your on the time thing and also your off the time, your time away.
Fair.
That was one advice that I've been told that I agree with, but I don't use. I think it's really good. I think it's good. Another thing is, it can be really hard for living on professionals to find that balance of like, how do I make my time off actually feel like time off, because your house that you're probably gonna be in when you're off is
on campus
5 feet away from probably a residence room.
Yeah.
And so
that's another plane.
I think I don't know how to word it, but like, I think if you can have that understanding and create that boundary with your staff as well as your residents, that like, if you see me in like a casual setting, it's probably because I'm off. Yes, you can still interact with me, but know that I'm off.
Yeah.
I think boundary setting is really important early, because it's easy to take away boundaries.
Yes.
It's hard to put them on if you haven't established them.
Yes.
So if you start with boundaries, you can finish with boundaries.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of...
And it is also, well, another part of that too is it's really difficult also to accommodate something for someone for so long and then set the boundary for that thing, because then it feels like you're slapping them in the face and it feels like you're not really treating them with respect because you've been able to help with this thing in this situation X amount of times before. Why not now? Why is this time the problem? I've actually run into that problem before. I don't want to get too far into the detail of it, but basically there's just a situation where outside of work I was friends with someone and they were like, well, I actually don't want you to like interact with me if you like see me walking. And it's like, that's a strange boundary to set after knowing you for over a year. And we've had so many conversations and so many times where we've talked about like anything outside of like work and stuff like that. And there are more details to that. I won't get too far in the weeds of it, but it's just kind of one of those, like, it kind of makes it feel like when you set a boundary like that, you are saying I can't manage my own work-life balance, therefore I'm making you do it. And to set that boundary early enough, that means that you've set your work-life balance. If you set it late, that means you're giving that responsibility to someone else. But if someone's breaking somewhere where your boundary is, you should be able to say that. You should say, hey, you broke this boundary, and if I didn't pre-establish this, that's my apologies. But this is where I'm not comfortable. And that's perfectly fine. But timing is actually important there too. I know that was a little. That cut a little harder.
That's real.
Yeah.
No, that's real. I like that.
And then what I was going to say also, when it comes to like how to really honestly make your time feel like your time, you just gotta experiment. Like, and it's not a one size fits all. Everyone's different. Everyone feels differently about their time, and we've displayed that here, because my time is outside of work is not your time unless I say it is, or if you need something, then I will. And I my staff fully knows they can contact me outside of hours when they need me. It doesn't matter if I'm on call, off call, have vacation, out of the state, out of the country. I'm never out of the country. But if I was any of those things, my staff knows that they can call me when they need me. And none of them feel, I don't think any of them feel like nervous to call me. They just feel guilty to call me, and that's where I want people to be. I don't want anyone to be afraid to call me.
Yeah, like ask for forgiveness, not provision.
100%. Like, and I've had people call me while I'm at UMR, and that's perfectly fine. If someone called me today, right now, in the middle of this podcast recording, it would be fine. Because
on speaker.
I would. They would be on speaker, and it would be an interesting thing. Yeah. But in general, it's just if you guys need anything, please contact me. Just make sure you're mitigating what need means. And that's
where boundary setting is.
Yeah, and that's where my boundaries end up being. But your boundaries, whoever the royal you is, you need to figure out where those boundaries are for yourself. And that means making a lot of mistakes and then fixing it the next time. And the next time is typically, unfortunately, a whole semester. Hopefully the mistake happens like in November and you get to fix it in January, because that'd be great. Because if someone's like, oh, hey, you said you would help me with craft night on Saturday from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's...
I did?
Yeah, right, I did. Like, I guess that's where I set my boundaries today.
Yeah.
But use your time how you are comfortable using it, and some people just aren't. I don't like using my, like, lunch... This is a weird one. And this is one, actually, that I don't follow my own, like, in the back of my head boundary. I really hate talking about work over lunch.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I love having lunch break and just talking about anything else.
Yeah.
It feels like it always devolves eventually into talking more about, like,
are you
work.
Having lunch with, like, coworkers?
I'm having lunch with all my coworkers, yes.
Yeah.
Because we have a meal plan. Yeah. So we all get lunch around the same time.
Are you flexing that?
Huh?
Sorry, I'm losing my meal plan July 1st, so.
Yeah, we don't. we haven't talked about that part yet. Any Fort Hayes listeners, sorry, I don't have those answers. I think those conversations are happening while I'm here, so I'm even more out of the loop than usual. Not that I'm usually out of the loop. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. But like over lunch, having lunch with coworkers, I kind of want to talk not as just our roles at that point, because all of us are more than our role. And anyone who feels like they're just being relegated to that role at all times is probably miserable. And if they're not, teach me how. Because I need that. Because if someone just says, oh, Nathan's the assistant director, and people always only treat me like an assistant director and nothing else, I won't feel like I'm
Nathan, the musical artist.
Yeah, right? No, but I do want that. Like I want people to be able to know the other things about me. Yeah. I'm currently working on music with a friend, and we're hopefully by the end of the summer going to have an album. That is not a plug. I'm not going to say the name of anything yet because I want to make sure we do it. So I'm not going to make any, like, who knows how many people listening have accountability for me. But if it does, and we do that, I'll plug it.
Yeah, so you brought up the word role. And I have a question for you.
Sure. Yeah.
And I want to say that this was not a question that I thought of. I was actually asked this question earlier at UMR. Our engagement committee members, Abby.
Oh, yeah.
What is your dream role? It doesn't have to be higher ed, but what is your dream role?
No offense to higher ed for the record. How far do I get into this? Pretty far. Okay. What time is it? We're fine. So, the story I'm going to tell is no one's fault. At least no one that I know's fault. I was a music undergrad. I was a music composition major. And my last year, and everyone's last year in composition, is supposed to be, they're supposed to have a senior recital where you have to coordinate all of the instruments for it, the players. You have to coordinate the practice times. You have to get everyone their sheet music. You get them their separate sheet music, the all-together sheet music, and then they'll give you notes on it that you have to change for them so they can play your piece easier. I did all of that for, I think it was 9 or 10 pieces of music. One of them was a like 7-minute long mini symphony called the Kawaii-o. That's too far, but the reason it's a bird that's endangered, or was endangered, it's extinct now, from Hawaii. It's a really sad story. Anyone who wants me to tell that story, leave it in the comments and I'll do it later. But yeah. Oh, I got you. So the big thing about that was, so I put all of that together. The night where we were going to do our first hearings with my advisor was when our university shut down for COVID. When we were informed that there was no way that this was going to happen. And I had put all the work except for the hearings. And all of my people were ready. They were in the room ready to play music. And I had to tell them it was done, and it shut down. And I think that experience really changed me as a person. All of COVID. And I know everyone has different things from it. Everyone's affected differently from it. Like, no, my brain doesn't work the same way anymore because of it. Because that was the first time I had actually put my work in. Like, I didn't try to procrastinate. I didn't half-ass it. I put my whole heart and soul into making sure that all of those pieces of music were as close to perfect as I could make it. And since then, that actually, I took a 2 or 3 year break from music after that. And that was really hard because, like, lots of people know me as the guy who played music, but I didn't even play music, like, in public anymore. I used to play music in Starbucks, and I stopped doing that for a couple years. I didn't play music in public at all because it was so heartbreaking. And that's the thing, like, that's me. I'm the one who mitigates how I feel about things. I'm the one who, like, works with my own suffering, but also that it did it to me, and I couldn't fix it. And I couldn't make my brain want to do music anymore. I joined a band about a year ago, and that's how, like, I kind of got more into it, and now I'm fully engrossed again. I'm super happy about it. But my dream role at the time, I couldn't have told you. I wanted to do music. I didn't want to do higher ed. No offense to higher ed once again. I love higher ed now. But at the time, I got stagnated in my field. I had to end up writing a 25-page paper on all of my music instead of having a concert where people got to see what I've been doing for years. So now all I have is MIDI files of just what those pieces of music are, and it's tough. I go back and listen to them like probably once a year just to like do the whole what if thing, but what ifs aren't going to make it happen. I can, for the record also, I can get those pieces performed now. I can get them ready to go. I can find players and do that, but that's a whole different level of work when I'm not connected to the music department anymore, so I don't even know the players. So my personal dream role, honestly, dude, I just want to make music. I want to make music, and I want to be able to sustain myself off of music. I love higher ed. Higher ed's done a lot of good things for me. If I ended up teaching music in higher ed,
you don't have to justify.
But also, it doesn't have to be that for me. For me, honestly, if I made an album with my homie Alex and we got super successful off of it, which honestly, he's a talented guy. He knows his stuff. He posts on YouTube probably once a week or so, and he gets pretty decent views on his music. But once he and I actually start like getting the ball rolling, if that takes off, that's the dream for me. So that's my dream role, I guess.
Yeah.
What's yours?
No,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I've never truly heard you talk about it like that. So
it's
awesome. No, I like that a lot.
I don't like talking about myself.
Hey man, and that's what this podcast is for: is stepping out of the comfort zone.
That's true.
Yeah, and doing something. But so a joke answer is not having to have a role and not working and just being able to live.
Oh yeah, too.
That's my dream. But like at least currently, that's not possible.
No.
So like, I have a few avenues. One, because I was talking about I'll just kind of like rehash what I was talking about earlier with Abby and Jesse.
Yeah.
I'll go backwards in what I was saying. I think it'd be really cool to be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool because I want to have a family at some point in my life. I I want to be a father. I think I would love to just hang out with my kid, raise my kid, learn how to cook better, have nice food ready for my partner when they get home, and just be like, hey, I've been doing this. Kid's been hanging out. Cat's good. Like,
yeah, how's work?
House, yeah, and how was work? Let me talk. Let me know. Like you can bitch to me now. You know?
Yeah, no,
like,
that'd be great.
I would love that because then like. Because I really like tea, so like, and I don't know the people, and they could just tell me what's going on.
Sorry, I thought you meant like tea, like just
no gossip.
I love tea, but no, gossip's fun too.
I do
gossip's
like
fun.
some Lipton green iced tea or whatever.
Do you really?
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
I do like that. It's very sugary. That's the only reason I like it.
Ah, fair.
But that's one of like the things that I've thought about. Is that'd be really cool. I think because at one point I wanted to be a math teacher.
Yeah.
I think I've thought about going like back and trying to do that, or just trying to be a teacher in general. I've been told that I'd be a really good English teacher. I think that translates to you tell really funny stories, so you'd just be able to like talk in front of a class. Sure, but like regardless, I'd love to be in the teaching world. My dream teaching job was like I wanted to do college algebra in high school. I want to do like it because that means you're with students that are like really wanting to be there kind of thing, and that's what I want is like I want to motivate a group of students that I can help them get to the next step kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean that's how I found myself in higher ed because I wanted to help students and be that mentor that I didn't have but then I did have but then I didn't have kind of thing. I want to be that person for someone else to fill a spot that I never had kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so speaking of higher ed though, I think I jokingly said that my dream role is being a hall director at NDSU for the next year. That's my dream role. And then next is I don't know what that next year is because I don't know.
And then my next dream.
And so, like, I mean, I'm really interested in like student leadership and student activities.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would ever get to like dean of students or president of a university. I think I could do that eventually. I'm very confident in my own abilities. I always feel really. I feel like it's always sad when I hear someone talk about they have like imposter syndrome when I know they do great work and they're a great person. Yeah. Because like I'm just happy that I've gotten to a point where like I don't feel that anymore. Yeah. I'm very confident in what I do and I know I do it well. And I know I could do most new tasks well too. Yeah. And so like could I see myself down the line being pretty high up or the guy at like a university? Yes. When? Don't know. But
yeah,
so I could see myself doing that.
We should talk about imposter syndrome later, different episode.
Yeah,
because honestly, that has always been like there have been a lot of people who've helped me through that, but until probably this past school year, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Still, I hadn't felt like that in a long time. But no, it's just you just got to do the stuff, and you have to do it day in and day out for that. But no, I do want. As of right now, in my role where I am now, what I want more than anything is to be a good mentor to some people. Yeah. And I want to be the mentor that I was able to get. Yeah.
So I asked you a lot of questions, and I led us through this last hour. Yeah. I know we should wrap up soon.
We probably should wrap up.
I wanted to, I guess, now this sounds really bad. I want to open up the floor to you. Do you have anything that you want to do you have any questions? That like I kind of sprung this stuff on you. I kind of told you what we were talking about, but not really.
No, not really.
And so like, do you have anything that you want to spring on me, and I can try to like give my?
Well, that's not fair because you gotta prepare your springing on me.
Yeah.
Now you're springing on me to spring on you, so you're just doing it more. It's just like, sorry. Oh hey, can you just come up with questions right now while I got to think about it while you were setting up the audio. I didn't mean to call you out. I do actually have a question for you. Yes. How do you go about making connections to people? Because I have seen you flourish in that when I see you talking to people here. And this is probably another point of good advice for people.
Yeah. I appreciate those kind words.
Yeah.
Well, I think I don't want to say it comes naturally to me but it does.
It does.
Bit. Because I just, again, I get my energy from people, and so like, no matter what conversation I'm in, if I have the energy to have a conversation, I put my all into every conversation I have. Yeah. Because I am never going to be able to experience everything in life.
Yep.
Crazy concept. But everyone's lives, regardless if they're literally living in the same room as you as like a sibling, everyone's life is so different.
Oh,
the way people perceive things is so different. The fact that like I don't want, and that's getting crazy. I'm not gonna get into this, but like we've developed what colors are, but like that was because just at some point someone was like, the color is that because my eyes, that's color.
Well, yeah, and
so I don't want to get into that.
I do want to really quick say that the fact that I plant that and say it's blue does not mean that what I'm seeing is your blue, and that's crazy to me.
Exactly.
That's so
like
cool.
that image online where like someone's looking at a 9, but they're actually like another person's looking at a 6 because perspective.
Yeah.
Perspectives.
Oh, whoa.
But I don't know. I just put my all into every conversation because I'm just genuinely so like interested in anything anyone's saying ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like what you have to do if you really want to like make connections genuinely with people is like you shouldn't start a conversation with someone, a one that will extend. You can say hi in passing and whatever, and do salutations and greetings.
Sure.
That's fine. That's just genuine and kindness from humans existing alongside one another. You shouldn't start a conversation with someone if you aren't actively prepared to have a conversation with someone. Because if you're not, because you never know where a conversation is going to go. Advice for your professional role: you shouldn't put yourself out there to your staff, your students, your coworkers, your superiors, unless you know you have the time. Because you never know when you say "How are you doing?" You never know the general thing is they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm good."
Yeah.
What happens when they say I'm not? And then you didn't prepare for that because you weren't genuinely ready to have a conversation. And then you can be like, oh wait, I wasn't, oh my God. And like that reaction right there, if you were to actually voice that and do that, that leads to now you're disconnected from this person because they think that you don't care.
Yeah. Because you never had the intention to have that conversation. You didn't have the intention to ask them how they are doing.
Yeah.
You asked them how are you as just a filler phrase.
As like a hi or what's up.
Yeah, you use it as an in a conversation.
And I'm sad that we have devolved the phrase "How are you?" or "What's up?" to a salutation and not a genuine question.
Well, you know the worst part about that too is from the perspective of someone who is perspective plug anyway, but from the perspective of someone who is doing poorly, like asking how are you, they don't feel like they can tell you, and that's frustrating. Like you don't know what someone's going through. You can ask how are you, and even I'm good, how are you is not enough anymore. Because that's not telling you how they are. That is like what if you are actually genuinely asking. And for the record, if you ask at all, be prepared. But if you're genuinely asking, take more time for it. Don't say, hey, how are you? Just say, no, actually, how are you doing? Like, what's going on in your life? Say those things. If you say those things, someone knows that you are fully prepared to listen to whatever it is that's going through their head. I mean, you and I talked about that yesterday too. Like, we went on a huge walk and talked about like what's going on in life because life is nuanced. And
that's how you
hard.
make connections with people. If you just give the time. And I know, like, depending on who you are at a conference, you can't always give the time to everyone because there's 200 plus people. That's fine. There is no blueprint of how to connect with humans.
No.
And like you're never gonna be able to connect with everyone. You're never gonna be able to please everyone, et cetera, et cetera. Just take the time when you have the time to genuinely try to connect with people, and that's how you make connections.
My biggest recommendation to anyone going to UMR and they want to network and they want to find people who they actually connect with and they talk to outside of UMR and want to genuinely connect with 2 people. Don't connect with everyone. You can't connect with everyone. You can't connect with every single person you talk to. Even if you have a long conversation with 12 people, you're not going to keep in contact with 12 people. Unless that's all you do in your free time. Good for you. I'm not. Sorry, I have an album to make. I'm not going to waste my time trying to meet every single person I've ever seen, because I'm sure I've seen tens of thousands of people. Actually, at this point in life, how many people have we seen in the world? Really? I don't know. Maybe 6 figures now. I've probably seen more people than I've seen money. Anyway, but yeah, isn't that weird? You don't like that one. But really what the real thing is, though, try to genuinely connect with 2 people who you actually want to continue talking to outside of just UMR. Because that will make you feel like you're connected more than anything. And then those people have connections, and they'll introduce you to people, and that's just how it all chains down.
Yeah.
But don't sit here and try to just network with every single person, because then everyone's like, oh yeah, Nathan's that guy who talked to everyone, gave everyone his business card, and said, call me when you have a position open. That's weird.
And I threw it in the trash.
Yeah, I threw it in the trash, or I left it in my pocket, went through the wash, or... And then when I saw him later, I forgot his name, and it was weird. And he remembered mine.
But no, so in all, that's how I connect with people, and that's how I feel like and regardless of, and I just treat people like people too. But yeah, do you have any other questions you want to?
I think that was my big one.
Okay.
I actually thought about that like a day ago, and I was just like, I'll hold off and figure out a time to ask you that.
For sure.
But yeah.
And then this is the time.
This was the time. This was a good time to ask it.
Yeah. But so overall, or in summary, as I should say, in summary, taking time for yourself is sometimes the most important part of the position that you hold, and that's genuine. I know that's a bit that we do at the end of each podcast.
We do a lot of bits. We do a lot of bits.
Is in summary, because this is the In Summary UMR podcast.
But we do actually summarizing.
Yeah, but that is also like for real. Like you need sometimes self-care is the most important thing of any position that you hold.
Yeah.
But that's been the In Summary podcast. I've been Dallas Lansanese.
I've been Nathan Dozier.
And I hope you tune in next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Sweet. That's it. That is it.
I can